WION. World is one.
Hello, you're watching GRAVITAS. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Let's get started. Tonight we're asking the big question, is Donald Trump already losing the Iran war? As the US president asks for help from NATO, one by one, each country has been rejecting his demand. We get you which way this war is headed. Our focus also remains on the arms and ammunition being used in the West Asia conflict. Tonight we talk about Iran's dancing missiles. What do they do and how they pose a grave threat to the enemy? And a look at how India has been continuing to navigate her way through the fuel shortage concerns, what the ground situation is, and what is the Modi government doing about it. We get you all about it. The war between the US and Israel with Iran is at its 17th day, with strikes and counterstrikes escalating across the region. Israel has launched a new wave of airstrikes on Iranian cities, including Tehran, Shiraz and Tabriz, with several blasts heard in the central Tehran, as Iran's air defense systems remain fully activated. The Israeli military also reports limited ground operations targeting Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon, aimed at neutralizing security threats near the border. Smoke has been continuing to billow across the Lebanese territory as troops push into newer areas. Now, Iran says that it has conducted the 55th phase of Operation True Promise 4 to retaliate the American-Israeli aggression. As per the IRGC, Iran attacked Israel and US military bases in its 55th wave of attacks using super heavy ballistic and hypersonic missiles. In a statement, Iran's Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, the unified command of the country's military bodies, disclosed that the IRGC carried out this attack through a joint operation involving drones and ultra-heavy precision and hypersonic missiles, including Fatah, Emad and Qadr missiles. The command indicated that these strikes targeted US military centers at Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates, as well as Sheikh Isa Air Base and the Jufair Naval Base in Bahrain, in addition to aerial refueling facilities in Tel Aviv and at the Ben Gurion Airport. Now, Donald Trump insists that Iran's military is essentially defeated, claiming that Iran's missile and drone stocks are down to a fraction and that airstrikes are targeting Iran's drone manufacturing facilities. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard says that it has fired roughly 700 missiles and 3,600 drones at American and Israeli targets since the 28th of February. IRGC spokesperson Ali Mohammad Naini highlights that these attacks have been carried out using older missile technology with new capabilities still to be deployed. The Strait of Hormuz remains a flashpoint. Donald Trump is pressuring global leaders to join a Hormuz coalition to secure the vital shipping route, while Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says that the strait is closed only to enemies or countries supporting aggression against Iran, maintaining open passage for others. Reports also suggest that Trump is weighing a potential ground operation to capture Iran's Karg Island, which is a strategic oil hub, if international coalition efforts fail. Remember, this conflict has already taken a heavy toll. Iran claims 1,444 people have been killed and over 18,500 have been injured. Israel reports 16 have been killed and more than 3,300 have been wounded. The U.S. has lost 13 service members so far, while Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, the UAE, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and other regional states have also suffered casualties. Israeli officials have warned that the country is running low on ballistic missile interceptors, with stocks strained from last summer's conflicts, though the U.S. maintains adequate supplies. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar, meanwhile, denies any shortage, stressing that defense systems remain operational. The war is also striking at infrastructure and energy supplies, disrupting oil shipping routes, and raises concerns over broader regional security. Both sides continue to claim gains, but the human cost mounts as the conflict escalates, with strategic targets in Iran, Lebanon, and the Persian Gulf at the center of this intensifying war. As the West Asia war drags on, American President Donald Trump has been characterized by a number of self-contradictory claims. While Trump boasts of decimating Iran's navy, he has expressed frustration over vessels being blocked from the Strait of Hormuz. He's now issued a direct threat to his NATO allies. In an interview with the Financial Times, Donald Trump demanded NATO nations to help the U.S. secure the Strait of Hormuz. He said, and I quote, "If there's no response, or if it's a negative response, I think it will be very bad for the future of NATO." He's also added that allies could contribute assets such as minesweepers vessels, which Europe has far more than the US. Trump also revealed that he had reached out to 7 countries to help protect the Strait of Hormuz. While he didn't explicitly name them, he had earlier expressed hope that China, France, Japan, South Korea and UK will all send ships to the area.
We are demanding that these countries come in and protect their own territory, because it is their territory. It's a place from which they get their energy, and they should come and they should help us protect it.
Now, this is not the first time when Donald Trump has warned of bad things happening to countries. Addressing the Gaza Board of Peace meeting in February this year, he had warned Iran of striking a meaningful deal, failing which bad things will happen. Barely 9 days later, America and Israel went to war against Iran.
They've had some very interesting meetings having to do with, as you know, Iran is a hotspot right now, and they're meeting, and they have a good relationship with the representatives of Iran, and, you know, good talks are being had. It's proven to be, over the years, not easy to make a meaningful deal with Iran. We have to make a meaningful deal, otherwise bad things happen.
Trump's threats haven't been limited to NATO alone. He's also warned China that he may consider postponing his scheduled visit to Beijing beginning the 31st of March if it doesn't give a positive response on helping secure the Strait of Hormuz. Now, how have countries responded to Trump's threat so far? To begin with, Australia, Greece and Japan have outrightly rejected sending naval ships to protect the Strait of Hormuz. South Korea and the UK have also avoided it, accepting Trump's offer until now. On the other hand, China has put the onus of reducing tensions in the strategic waterway on all parties engaging in military actions. Germany went one step further in challenging Donald Trump's diktat. The German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius not only ruled out his country's military participation, he's also said, and I quote, "This is not our war." He's also questioned Trump on what he expects a handful of European frigates to do that US Navy cannot do.
We did not start this war. We all share, the goal of bringing this mullah regime to an end. The question of how this will be achieved is a matter of debate. The Americans, together with the Israelis, have chosen this path. We have only offered very moderate criticism.
UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer has de-linked this from NATO, while acknowledging that UK is working with others to come up with a credible plan for the Strait of Hormuz. He's emphasized that this will not be a NATO mission. However, he's maintained that UK will not be drawn into the wider war in West Asia. Now, amid all of this, Tehran has said that European governments face a clear test of their commitment to international law and urged them to uphold the principles which they frequently champion. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi also revealed that the Strait of Hormuz is only close to US, Israel, and those supporting their aggression.
They are asking other countries to come and assist them so that the Strait of Hormuz remains open. Of course, from our perspective, it is open. It is only closed to our enemies, to those who carried out unjust aggression against our country and to their allies.
Now, as crude oil price crossed $105 per barrel with disruptions to global oil and gas supply, the pressure on Donald Trump to stabilize the situation is growing, even as allies are now rejecting his threats. The skies over Iran are roaring with warplanes and missiles. American and Israeli airstrikes are pounding targets deep inside Iranian territory. But Tehran has now responded with one of its most feared weapons, the Sejel missile. Take a look.
Explosions rip across Iranian cities as Israeli and American aircraft pound military sites. Israel and US say their precision strikes hit missile bases, command centers and infrastructure linked to Iran's war effort. For 16 days, the bombardment has intensified as the conflict enters a dangerous new phase.
We have an organized and well-planned war plan. We still have thousands of targets in Iran, and we are identifying more targets every day. The regime is already weakened, and we continue to weaken it more and more every day.
Iran, on the other hand, continues to launch devastating strikes on what it calls our American and Israeli military targets. Iran now signals shifting from trying to overwhelm enemy air defenses with wave after wave of the cheap but deadly Shahid drones. The focus on potential high-impact penetration strikes in which fewer, faster and harder to intercept missiles. Iran claims to have fired its Sejel missile, which it says is unstoppable. The Sejel is a two-stage, solid-fuel surface-to-surface medium-range ballistic missile. Iran claims that it has a range of 2,000 kilometers. The 18-meter-long missile can deliver a payload of approximately 700 kilograms. It can achieve a maximum speed up to Mach 4 to Mach 5. Military analysts say the Sejel missile's speed and long range make it a key part of Iran's strategic arsenal, with American and Israeli aircraft striking Iranian territory. Tehran appears determined to demonstrate that it still has powerful tools of retaliation. Each new Iranian barrage is more sophisticated than the last, catching Israeli and American commanders off guard and forcing a desperate scramble for new strategies to counter the incoming projectiles. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
The naval tensions in West Asia are rising sharply. Iran is now warning that America's most powerful warships could become targets in the widening conflict. And the focus of that warning is the massive American aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford that is operating near Saudi Arabia.
Out in the waters of the Red Sea, a giant steel city moves slowly across the horizon. The USS Gerald R. Ford, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier weighing nearly 100,000 tons. A floating fortress capable of launching waves of fighter jets and missiles deep into enemy territory. Surrounding it is a powerful shield, guided missile destroyers, cruisers armed with advanced radar systems, submarines lurking beneath the surface. But now, Iran is openly challenging that power. Iranian officials have issued a warning directed at Saudi Arabia and regional allies hosting US military. Tehran says that any country providing support facilities for the USS Gerald R. Ford could become a legitimate target if the war escalates further. The warning comes after Iran claimed it had already targeted another US carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, during the ongoing war. Washington has strongly rejected those claims, saying there was no damage to the warship. But the rhetoric from Tehran is intensifying. Iranian commanders have long argued that their missile and drone arsenal is capable of threatening even the most heavily protected aircraft carriers. The stakes are enormous. The USS Gerald R. Ford and the USS Abraham Lincoln are some of the most advanced carriers ever built. Iran has the firepower. The US has the most powerful military. A strike on an aircraft carrier could change the stakes in the high-intensity war in West Asia. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
The night sky over Beirut continues to glow orange as relentless Israeli airstrikes hammer the Lebanese capital, even as thousands of civilians are now being forced out of their homes, driven into uncertainty. The aftermath of the latest strikes reveals the true scale of devastation on ground. On Lebanon's southern border, military activity is rapidly escalating. Israel says its troops have now launched limited ground operations against Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon, a move that it claims is aimed at strengthening its forward defensive lines, while also trying to weaken Hezbollah strongholds. The IDF has revealed video footage as well, showing its troops operating inside southern Lebanon. The Israeli military claims its forces have pushed as much as 9 kilometers into Lebanese territory, setting the stage for a possible larger ground advance, supported by artillery barrages and heavy firepower. Amid the ongoing military operation, Israel's defense minister has issued a fresh warning against Hezbollah.
Hezbollah will pay heavy prices for its aggression and activity in the Iranian axis to destroy Israel. Those who want to destroy have been destroyed and will be destroyed.
According to Lebanon's health ministry, the death toll from Israeli strikes since the 2nd of March has now crossed 850. But even as Israel continues to urge Lebanese civilians to evacuate, particularly in Beirut, Hezbollah has responded with one of its strongest warnings yet. The group says it is preparing for a long and brutal confrontation with Israel, one that it calls an existential battle.
Defeat and surrender is not in our dictionary. We will stay strong on the battlefield regardless of the sacrifices. We are ready until the end. This is an existential battle, not a limited or simple one.
According to Israeli media reports, despite the IDF's current advances, Israeli forces are still far from reaching the Litani River. This river flows from east to west, running parallel to the Israel-Lebanon border. After the Second Lebanon War in 2006, the United Nations had established this area between the Litani River and Israel-Lebanon border as a de facto buffer zone, effectively separating Hezbollah positions from Israel. A boundary that remains strategically significant even 2 decades later, because back in 2006, despite its military superiority, Israel had failed to defeat Hezbollah. In fact, the Israeli military had suffered heavy losses, both in terms of troops as well as armored equipment. And many analysts believe that Israel ultimately failed to achieve its core war objectives. Which brings us back to the strategic importance of the Litani River. North of this waterway, Hezbollah, despite being weakened by its 2024 conflict with Israel, still maintains a significant military presence there. And more importantly, the group continues to hold an edge in tactical warfare, particularly when it comes to asymmetric combat. Much of Hezbollah's military infrastructure is believed to be hidden deep underground, which means if Israel pushes for a full-scale ground invasion, especially beyond the Litani River, Hezbollah could hold a distinct advantage here, primarily due to its unconventional strategies and guerrilla warfare tactics. Large parts of southern Lebanon are filled with sloping hills and deep valleys, terrain that gives Hezbollah fighters a clear view of any advancing army, making it ideal for ambushes and guerrilla operations there. What makes Hezbollah even more deadly is how its fighters are trained. Small units of just 2 or 3 operatives are reportedly given the authority to make autonomous decisions on the battlefield. So in practical terms, this means a team can set up a weapon system, launch an attack, and disappear from the area in as little as 28 seconds. Hezbollah is also believed to control hundreds of kilometers of tunnels, along with natural caves engineered in a way that allows fighters to hide and strike at the rear of advancing forces. Now, as Israel prepares for further ground operations in Lebanon, the shadow of the Second Lebanon War 20 years ago, combined with Hezbollah's latest warning, are all likely to loom. And we're slipping into a break. Coming up on GRAVITAS, after multiple purges in the Chinese PLA, one of Xi Jinping's top nuclear scientists has gone missing now. More about it on the other side. And we take you to the magnificent tulip garden in Jammu and Kashmir, which is now in its full bloom and is open to tourists. The Indian government held an inter-ministerial briefing today on the fuel supply situation as the conflict escalates in West Asia. The government has clarified that the country's supply of compressed natural gas and piped natural gas continues uninterrupted across the country.
मैं दोबारा से वही बात दोहराऊंगी कि स्थिति अभी चिंताजनक है, लेकिन हमारे डोमेस्टिक एलपीजी कंज्यूमर्स को एलपीजी की सप्लाई की जा रही है और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटरशिप्स पर कोई ड्राई आउट रिपोर्टेड नहीं है.
The government has also said that crude oil availability remains adequate at the moment and the country's fuel supply chain is functioning without disruption. Authorities have reportedly increased monitoring and enforcement measures to prevent hoarding or illegal storage of petroleum products. Officials added that refineries are running at full capacity to ensure steady fuel production and supply across the country.
They are operating at full capacity and there is a increase in the domestic production of LPG, and now it is almost around 36% of what we were producing before 5th.
As part of the supply management measures, the government has begun enforcing a recent amendment to the LPG control order, which requires consumers who have access to piped natural gas to surrender their LPG connections. The move aims to prioritize LPG availability for households that do not have access to PNG infrastructure. Authorities said raids have been conducted in several states to check hoarding and ensure smooth fuel distribution. Reports also suggest that over 1,400 places were inspected in surprise raids, and over 500 illegally stored cylinders have reportedly been seized by officials. At the same time, city gas distribution companies are encouraging more households to adopt PNG connections. Several companies have introduced incentives and promotional offers to attract new users and accelerate the shift from LPG cylinders to piped gas. The government said that they will closely monitor the situation and they will continue to do so to ensure uninterrupted availability of cooking and transport fuels across the country. Several key shipments are boosting energy supplies as well. The India-flagged LPG tanker Shivalik, remember, arrived at the Mundra port with 46,000 tons of LPG, while Nanda Devi is expected to dock at the Mumbai port on the 17th of March with a similar load. The crude tanker Jag Ladki is carrying 81,000 tons of Murban crude from the UAE and is en route to the Mundra port for tomorrow's arrival. Liberia-flagged Suez Max tanker Shenlong delivered about 1 million barrels of Saudi crude to Mumbai last week. Now, these shipments reflect India's steady import of LPG and crude oil from multiple sources. Iran continues its retaliatory strikes on West Asia with drones and missiles as this war enters its third week. While multiple countries have come under attack, the UAE has borne the most severe price of Tehran's military action against US and Israel. Earlier in the day, operations at the Dubai International Airport were suspended for a few hours after an Iranian drone hit a fuel tank in the vicinity of the airport. Flames and thick smoke were seen rising in this area. Meanwhile, Iran continued to target oil infrastructure. A fire broke out in UAE's Fujairah industrial zone as a result of the falling debris of an Iranian drone following successful interception by the country's air defenses. This caused a minor injury to a Jordanian national as well. Now, as per the UAE's Ministry of Defense, it has engaged 304 ballistic missiles, 15 cruise missiles, and 1,627 drones from Iran since the beginning of this war. Data indicates that the barrage of attacks faced by the UAE is much more than other Gulf nations like Bahrain, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. The UAE's Defense Ministry affirmed readiness to deal with any threats and ensure the protection of its sovereignty, security, and stability. In fact, it also revealed that 2 members of its armed forces had lost their lives while performing their duties. It also revealed that 5 civilians, including Pakistani, Nepali, and Bangladeshi citizens, had been killed so far. Apart from this, 145 people sustained minor to severe injuries, and these injured people include nationals of the UAE and 27 other countries, including India and Iran. Earlier, Iran had claimed to have attacked the Al Dhafra air base. The UAE minister, Reem Al Hashimi, has confirmed that her country has borne the brunt of most of these drones and missiles fired by Iran. In an interview, she condemned Iran's unhinged attacks and ruled out reconsidering hosting US bases in UAE.
It's been pretty unprecedented what's happened and almost unhinged, I would say, to have Iran lash out at the very people who've been calling for de-escalation, who've been calling for this war to never actually even start, which has really taken us by surprise.
On the other hand, UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed held another telephonic conversation with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to discuss the continued Iranian attacks targeting West Asia. Both sides stressed the need for immediate cessation of military escalation and called for prioritizing dialogue. Earlier, the UAE had rejected Iran's claim that American strikes on the Karg Island originated from its own territory. The UAE president's diplomatic advisor, Anwar Gargash, stressed that his country had the right to defend itself but continues to maintain restraint. Several members of Iran's women's national football team who sought asylum are now changing their course. Most have decided to return to Iran despite earlier fears of possible persecution in Iran. Only 2 players are now believed to remain in Australia. The situation, remember, began during the AFC Women's Asian Cup in Australia. 7 members of Iran's delegation, 6 players and 1 staff member initially sought asylum in Australia. Australia granted them humanitarian visas after they expressed fears of possible persecution if they returned home. Now, these concerns emerged after the team reportedly did not sing the national anthem before a tournament match. But the situation has shifted quickly. Australian officials say that 5 members of the group have now withdrawn their asylum requests. Among them is the team captain, Zara Ghanbari, who's Iran's leading female international goal scorer. They are expected to reunite with the rest of the team in Malaysia before returning to Tehran. Australia's Assistant Foreign Minister said that the government respects the players' decisions. He's also added that authorities will continue offering support to those who remain in Australia. The Home Affairs Minister of the country said the players were repeatedly informed about their options, but he acknowledged that the decisions are complex given the circumstances that they face. However, the members of the Iranian diaspora and human rights activists have raised concerns. Some believe that pressure may have been placed on the players' families in Iran to influence their decision. But these claims remain unverified at the moment. Iranian authorities, meanwhile, have called their decision a patriotic choice. A new report about the rise of anti-Semitism on university campuses across the UK is raising serious concerns among students and student bodies. Research by the Union of Jewish Students, which represents Jewish students in Britain, found that 1 in 5 university students would be reluctant to share a house with a Jewish student. Now, the study is based on a survey of 1,000 students from different religious and social backgrounds. It suggests that hostility towards Jewish students is becoming increasingly normalized in campus life. As per reports, the research contains about 20% of the respondents said that they would feel uncomfortable living with a Jewish student. Nearly a quarter of about 23% said that they had witnessed behavior targeting Jewish students because of their religion or ethnicity. This report also highlights concerns about extremist rhetoric during campus protests linked to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Nearly 49% said that they had heard slogans or chants praising or glorifying groups such as Hamas and Hezbollah, both of which are proscribed terror organizations in the UK. 47% of students said they had seen or heard people justifying the 7th October attacks. Among the students who regularly encounter the Israel-Palestine protests on campus, that number rises sharply to 77%. Now, the survey found that campus protests are having a wider impact on university life. About 65% of students said demonstrations have disrupted learning activities. 40% changed routes on campus to avoid protests or blockades. 69% disapproved of protests blocking access to classes, and 82% say that calls to globalize the intifada are anti-Semitic. Now, this issue has drawn a response from the British government as well. Earlier this month, the UK government announced new measures to help universities protect students from extremism, harassment, and intimidation. The Regulator Office for Students will be given stronger powers to ensure universities take action when serious concerns are raised. UK Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson has said that universities must do more to protect Jewish students from discrimination and harassment on campus. It also calls for tougher regulation of student unions, including closer oversight by universities and the Charity Commission, as well as a national counter-extremism strategy specifically addressing radicalization in universities. Community organizations say they will continue working with universities and the government to combat anti-Semitism and ensure Jewish students can live and study on campus without fear or discrimination. We now turn our attention to the Russia-Ukraine war, where the drone war between the two sides is further intensifying, taking the fight deeper into each other's territory. Ukraine says that Russia has stepped up attacks on its major cities, while Moscow claims that it has foiled one of the largest drone strikes on the Russian capital in at least a year. These are the visuals from Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia. Firefighters can be seen fighting a massive blaze after an alleged Russian drone strike hit the city early Monday. At least one person was killed and 3 others have been injured. As per local authorities, officials say that the drone strike hit a residential area in the early hours of the morning. The Ukrainian Air Force said that Russia launched over 210 long-range strike drones of various types at targets across the country. Ukraine claims its air defenses managed to intercept or jam around 195 of those drones. Zaporizhzhia has been under intense airstrikes recently, and as per local authorities, guided bombs killed at least 1 man and injured 18 people on Saturday last.
The first attack was very mild, but the second was strong. As it happened, the kitchen window flew out, as did those in the living room and bedroom. Everything went into a roar.
The attacks were not limited to Zaporizhia. Remains of the two people were reportedly pulled from the rubble following Russian shelling in Dnipropetrovsk region. It also left 8 people wounded. While in the capital, Kiev, explosions shook the capital during a rare daytime drone attack. Air raid sirens began during early rush hours, with residents hearing explosions and air defense systems firing across the city. Kiev mayor said that debris from downed drones fell in the very center of the capital, but there were no fires or casualties. He later added that drone fragments also landed there. In several districts in the west of the city, local police could be seen cordoning off an area in central Kiev where the fragments landed. The strike reportedly caught many residents during the morning commute, just as people were heading to work and school. Such daytime attacks are unusual. Remember, most Russian drone strikes on Ukraine have typically taken place at night. Now, according to locals, around 30 drones were fired toward the country's capital. Meanwhile, Russia says its air defenses shot down around 250 Ukrainian drones over the weekend that were heading toward the Russian capital. Officials said that this is the biggest attempted attack on Moscow in over a year. Moscow's mayor said that air defense forces destroyed the drones, both on the approach to Moscow and on a second defense line around the city. Russia's aviation watchdog said that Moscow's main airports temporarily imposed flight restrictions during the attack, with restrictions later lifted. Officials say there were no casualties, but residents across Moscow and the surrounding region reportedly heard multiple loud blasts over the weekend. In Russia's southern Krasnodar region, an oil depot also caught fire after a drone attack. As the war is in its 5th year, peace talks appear to be in a limbo, even as the fighting continues to rage. Shifting focus now, China's top nuclear weapons scientists have gone under the radar. Names of some scientists have disappeared from the website of the Chinese Academy of Engineering, which is China's, remember, one-of-a-kind body for design and research of strategic weapons. The brain behind China's nuclear weapons research, Zhao Xiangyang's name has been removed from the website. However, the former CAE vice president's name is still listed in 13 academicians on the website of the Institute of Applied Physics and Computational Mathematics. Next profile that has been taken down from the CAC website is radar specialist Wu Mangqing. Wu has played a pivotal role in the development of KJ-500, which is China's own early warning aircraft currently used by its Air Force. The third person in the list of the removed profiles is Wei Yeyen, who's an expert in missile design and guided missile technology. He was elected as a CAE academician in 2019. A total of 3 profiles have been taken down, and reasons behind this move remain unknown. But the timing raises questions. It comes on the backdrop of Xi's total loyalty, no corruption mission. In fact, in a recently concluded National People's Congress meet, Jinping had said that modern weaponry and equipment should be placed in the hands of politically committed personnel. Xi's total loyalty, no corruption mission is already in motion. More than 20 senior military commanders in China have been investigated, sidelined, or removed since mid-2023. The most high-profile names include the country's top general, Zhang Yuxia, and the general, Liu Zhenli. Both men have been accused of alleged corruption and disloyalty. The generals first and now scientists. Chinese president is clearly reshuffling the country's security apparatus with loyalty and honesty towards the Chinese Communist Party at the center of it. North Korea witnessed an unprecedented participation in its latest parliamentary elections, claiming an extraordinary voter turnout of 99.99%. The state media says that it reflects the unity of the nation. As per reports, nearly every eligible citizen participated in the polls for the country's Supreme People's Assembly. Voters were presented with just one state-approved candidate for each seat. The state news agency reported a turnout close to 100%, with all ballots cast in support of the nominated candidates. However, in a surprising development, the Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un was not among the 687 candidates on the ballot this time. Remember, it marks the first occasion that a North Korean leader has not held a seat in the country's legislature. Analysts suggest that Kim's absence will bolster Pyongyang, who will project an image of a more structured government with a formal separation between executive leadership and the legislative body. Kim Yo-jong, the leader's younger sister and a rising political figure, was reportedly among those elected to the assembly. About 0.015% of the North Korean eligible voters did not take part in this election, as per the state media. Authorities claim those who missed the vote were mostly citizens working abroad or at sea. With an electorate estimated at over 17 million people, that fraction represents just a few thousand individuals. The state media also emphasized that special measures, including mobile ballot boxes for the elderly and ill, were used to ensure nearly universal participation. Defectors and analysts say this election process also functions as an unofficial census, allowing the government to identify any citizens who may have gone missing or defected. The results mirror a pattern seen in previous North Korean elections. In the last major parliamentary polls in 2014, authorities had reported a turnout of about 99.7%, approval for all the single candidates on the ballot. Like the latest poll, those elections were widely criticized internationally as a rubber stamp process designed to formally approve decisions already made by the ruling party. The Supreme People's Assembly, or the North Korean Parliament, usually meets only once or twice a year, primarily to approve policies and decisions previously set by the ruling Workers' Party led by Kim Jong-un. We're cutting across the United States of America, where President Donald Trump is speaking.
Is doing what should have been done many years ago. Should have been done many years ago. Since the beginning of the conflict, we've struck more than 7,000 targets across Iran, and these have been mostly commercial and military targets. We've achieved a 90% reduction in their ballistic missile launches and a 95% reduction in drone attacks. The missiles are trickling in now at very low levels because they don't have too many missiles left. We've also attacked the manufacturing plants, where the places where they manufacture the missiles and the drones, and that's going on today. We just hit 3 of them today. It's getting very hard for them to manufacture. More than 100 Iranian naval vessels have been sunk or destroyed over the last week and a half. That has to be some kind of a record. Additional strikes continue to launch from all directions every single hour. As you know, we attacked Karg Island and knocked it literally, destroyed everything on the island except for the area where the oil is. I call it the pipes. We left the pipes. We didn't want to do that, but we will do that. We can do that on 5 minutes' notice. It'll be over. But for purposes of someday rebuilding that country, I guess we did the right thing. But it may not stay that way. Just one simple word, and the pipes will be gone too. But it'll take a long time to rebuild that. We are aggressively dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, and ability to rebuild its missiles and drone capability is getting down to close to zero. And we're hammering their capacity to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, with more than 30 mine-laying ships destroyed. We hit, to the best of our knowledge, all of their mine-laying ships. Now they can put them on other types of ships, I guess, and drop them in, but We don't know that any have even been dropped in. We're not sure that any have been. That's a big negative for them if they do it. It's a form of suicide. But we don't know that they have dropped any in. But we've hit all 30 of their ships and destroyed them. They're all at the bottom of the sea. We strongly encourage other nations whose economies depend on the Strait far more than ours. You know, we get less than 1% of our oil from the Strait, and some countries get much more. Japan gets 95%. China gets 90%. Many of the Europeans get quite a bit. South Korea gets 35%. So we want them to come and help us with the